Yes, because we're sort of going, I'll start season 10, which is remarkable, in about 4 weeks. And we're close to, I think, 200 episodes. So it's been a remarkable journey. And you sort of look at the world that we're in right now, to have a job that's lasted that long is pretty good. So I'm very grateful for that. And every year and every episode, there's something new to discover, whether it's in front of the camera or off, with the character, with yourself. There's always something to discover if you keep looking for something new and trying to move forward creatively, whether that's in front of the lens or behind it, or with the people you work with, or looking at yourself and what you need to improve. And I think the show has always forced you to try to improve as a person and as an actor and so on. Oh, I think that's a good question. Is it easier to play Dr. Shepard now, or was it easier in the beginning? And I think at the beginning there was a real sense of discovery, because you didn't know where the character was going, where the show's going. Now you really kind of know what it is that you are being asked to do and perform. It's like being in a band or being in a symphony. You have a specific instrument that you need to play in order to fit in with the entire group, and trying to make the most of it. And I think really just working on being emotionally engaged in the scenes as much as possible. Oh, I think so, because it's been a very long relationship. It's been 10 years, so you know that's a big chunk of your life. It's been a remarkable experience. It's given me a wonderful life, a lot of opportunities. So yes, I'm sure it will be. Oh, it gives a tremendous amount of opportunities, because the success of the show is worldwide. And that visibility helps you tremendously because of the visibility of it. So things like this come up, and you know it gives you a lot more choices in life, and it provides you very well a quality of life that is very enjoyable. Yes. Yes, I think it constantly reminds you of how much more you need to work on yourself, and to be able to guide them in a way and to create an environment for them to be nurtured and developed and loved, so that they can find their own voice and their own individuality. And it's very humbling. It makes you remember your mother and your father and the childhood that you had, what you liked about it, what you didn't, and how to improve upon it. What your flaws are, what your weaknesses are, what your strengths are. It really does challenge you in a way where it's no longer about yourself anymore. There's a selflessness in that, and that's the challenge, I think, is to give them the environment to be themselves and the discipline that they need as well. Well, I'm not quite there yet, thank goodness. She's 11, but she's doing very well in school, so I'm very proud of that, which will give her the resources and tools to go off and follow her dreams in the future. So education to me is very important for her, and certainly emotional stability and understanding her. But they're very challenging young women, and young boys are too, for different reasons. So it's all very challenging and very exciting, you know. And each one, or all three, are completely different individuals. I think you just have to listen to your instincts, really, and you know what to do, which is right. And listen to them, they'll tell you. I'm not sure, how many chickens? We have a number of chickens, yes. Well, it's great. Farm fresh eggs taste delicious, and you know we believe deeply in from seed to skillet, which means you grow the food, and then you harvest the food, and then you cook the food, and then you eat the food. And it's nice to see that my daughter has really had a strong connection to the garden, and that was the whole point of it. I grew up in a small town, I grew up in the country, grew up on a farm, and I really wanted my children to have that experience. Certainly being around animals and chickens and all of that, it gives them a much stronger appreciation for life, and it just gives them something to do. Especially in the age of all this technology of iPads and all these video games and television, it's nice for them to go and connect to the land, because I think the land, to me, is church. It's what life is all about, and that's where you really get grounded and you connect on a much deeper level. And when you see something that you put into the ground, a seed, and you watch that come and grow, and you nurture it along the way, and then you consume it, I think is a very important lesson. Oh yes, I think it's very important to care what you eat.
The result is good.
Well, you have to exercise. You know, it makes you feel better, number one. Psychologically, when you go out and you exercise, you feel better, you look better. And what you put into your body affects your emotional state as well. So I think all of those things go hand in hand. I love travel. Yeah, I mean, I think travel is very important. I think you need to travel around the world to see and understand other cultures. So you have a better understanding of where you come from and who you are. But also, too, I think it prevents you from judgment. And you're much more compassionate and understanding and tolerant because you've been to a different culture or a different country, and you have a better understanding of how people live. And I think that's the most important thing is travel, and to be really open. I don't know if I'd work as a real life doctor. I think there's some great doctors that are out there. You know, certainly playing a doctor on television and that visibility has helped me start the Dempsey Center for Cancer, Hope and Healing. In some ways that's nice because sort of people project onto you shepherd, you know, and to be able to do something that's positive for the community that I grew up in is probably the most satisfying thing for me that's come out of Grace. I think you just have to remain, you know, grounded as much as possible, and, you know, I'm glad it happened at this point in my life because it doesn't happen every day, and these experiences are very rare. And these opportunities, you have to be incredibly, I'm very grateful for what it's given me and very humbled by it, and you take it seriously enough to make the most of it, but don't take it too seriously because ultimately fame is fleeting. Well, I think it's very hard for her at times, and sometimes it's very supportive because it provides well for our family. It's always very challenging, but we all take it with a grain of salt too. That is, it depends on the individual and the situations that you can find yourself in. Oh, absolutely, because I think there are fewer and fewer job opportunities now because of the lack of money to fund movies. The movie business is shrinking. You're seeing more and more opportunities in television and alternative media. So content is needed, but the money that was being paid in the past is not being paid now. I'm very fortunate to be in a position where I've been on a show for a number of years, and it sort of started before and has gone through and will come out the other side. So I'm very grateful and very, very respectful for the position that I'm in right now. And I think with that comes a lot of responsibility to be giving back to the communities that you're in. I think it's very, very important and far more satisfying ultimately at the end of the day. I think anybody with any visibility or any success has a social responsibility after a certain point. I think it would be far more satisfying when you are altruistic and you are compassionate and you are working in your community than anything else, far more than starring in a movie or having that kind of success. I think there is something in the emotional connection to another person that lends itself to happiness in life. And I think there comes a point when you sort of chase success and you've sort of found a certain amount of it that it no longer becomes as satisfying. The questing to get there is one thing, but once you arrive, what do you do with it? And I think at that point, if you can leverage your success to benefit the people around you and the community that you're in, the more fulfilling your life is and the more enjoyable your life is. I think it's really the actions of any individual in any profession, whether it be an actor or a business person or anybody who's successful. I think, like I said, I think it's really important that all businesses or all individuals who are successful, it's very important that they give something back. Yes, very much so. Well, it's becoming, it's certainly a business. It's a very challenging business. It's a challenging sport. It's a passion. It's a need that I have to do. I can't not imagine being in a race car, you know, getting ready to go to Le Mans and racing. I really enjoy the world that I'm in with my fellow competitors, the fellowship of that, the competition, the mental and physical challenge of it all. Is, to me, really what happens at the track and sort of focusing on races is really very similar to what life is about in many ways. It's tricky, you know. You have to work on credibility and respect, and that just takes time and results. And you know, I've been doing it almost as long as I've been doing the show, so it's kind of been going hand in hand with the journey of Grey's Anatomy. So the scheduling is always quite tricky. The show has been incredibly supportive, which I'm grateful for, and it's a great escape for me. It's very satisfying. I don't drive. Yeah, driving in the city I think is irresponsible to be going too fast. Just because you're at a racetrack, you're in a car that is that has a cage in it. You have seat belts. You have the proper safety equipment. And in a car, street cars are safe for the most part. But I think if you're driving and you're out of control, it's unfair to the people around you. And you see people who get a little bit racy on the freeways, and I don't think they have the technical skills or the ability to get themselves out of trouble if they do. So I don't find any satisfaction speeding. I mean, I like to drive fast, but I don't like to go too fast. Yeah, I would love, you know, Malaysia I haven't been to, and Singapore I've not been to. Nope. Dubai I would love to go to. Yeah, travel is really important. I think you learn a lot about yourself and other cultures and a much stronger appreciation. And certainly right now in the world that we live in, I think there's so many misinterpretations and misunderstandings of different cultures and they're clashing. Some of, you know, some of which can be, I think, straightened out by travel and just better knowledge of what's going on in different cultures. I've never been. I'd like to go though. I would like to. Well, now I probably can. Well, I started off performing in a vaudeville troupe, juggling and doing slapstick comedy in what was called a vaudeville, modern vaudevillians. And I had an opportunity to do a talent competition locally, and I won that, and then ended up going to sort of the national finals in New York, and I had won that too, and that exposed me to an agent. An agent signed me, and then I had an opportunity to audition for a Broadway play, which I received, and that sort of opened the door for me to get on a national level, or to make it to New York City. And this was when I was 17. So it's been a long ride in this town. Yeah, I've been very fortunate to have had a career and to be a working actor, which is really all I really wanted to be. It's a challenging town. It's a challenging profession. I think it's important to have things outside of it that round you out and not make it all about the business. I don't think it's satisfying enough. I just prefer working. I don't care what it is. It doesn't matter what it is. Oh wow, there's so many things I like to do, you know. I'd like to see the center expand so it's on a national level and a global level. I think there's a real important need for people who are diagnosed with cancer to have a wellness center, a place for them to go to. I think certainly in rural areas it's very important. So I want to continue that growth. but also keep the intimacy and the emotional heart of what's making our center work so well. And I think that's based on the quality of our volunteers and the staff and the feeling that they get from it. It's probably the most rewarding. So I want that to continue and to grow. For me, career-wise, I think it's really director and material driven now. So hopefully I can work with the people that I will find inspiration from. And then racing, I hope I can sustain a good business model there so I can continue to race at a very high level and to be competitive and to win a championship. And that my children go on to be very successful.